Hey guys, this is Salmon17 and because of the title of this video, I think I'm gonna piss off a lot of people. And I think that's my personal opinion, but I feel like ever since God of War for PS4 has came out, people may have overhyped it a little bit. Now, some people might argue right in the comments thinking, I don't understand gaming, or I don't appreciate good writing, and blah blah blah, but it's kind of hard to talk about this without triggering a lot of people, considering that we live in an age where people just think video games need to be like, hey, let's, what is the best to make a video game with good story? Let's have the characters walk for 15 minutes and without nothing happening for a very long time, have unskippable cutscenes and gameplay that is fine, but at the same time is not as good as the original game's gameplay. And yeah, this is probably gaming nowadays, because with God of War PS4, when you want to criticize the game, especially this kind of game where it tells a story basically, that people just slash out at you and thinking like, you're not a gamer, you don't appreciate good storytelling, and you know the gist. And it's like, most people think the new God of War game, basically some people call it God of War basically because they couldn't add a number 4 at the title for some reason, even though it's a continuation of the previous God of War games, but for some reason they could just call it God of War because, hey guys, remember the original game? No? Then we're gonna call it the God of War because the new generation will think this is the original game that started it all, even though it is a sequel to the previous games. But you don't need to play the previous games to know the story at all, so why bother? And this is a lot of modern gaming issues, like for example Ratchet & Clank. There's 2 Ratchet & Clanks just with a simple title, Ratchet & Clank, basically the 2002 game that came out for the PlayStation 2, and now the 2016 one that came out for the PlayStation 4. But considering Ratchet & Clank is a reboot, we're not gonna call it Ratchet & Clank the movie game or Ratchet & Clank remake. No, we're just gonna call it Ratchet & Clank so people can forget about the original game that existed a long time ago. And yeah, but the title I think is not the issue for the new God of War game, especially. I think the biggest issue is the fact that a lot of people think that God of War, now that Kratos now more emotionally invested as a character, he has a son, a wife who died, we barely even know anything about, and Kratos can't jump or do being more badass because he's an old man, even though he in his prime he was able to fight off giants and whatnot. There of course some good elements in God of War PS4. For example, the dragon fight was really epic, but as far as I can tell, the game, for lack of better terms, I think is really overhyped for a while, and even nowadays people just call it a masterpiece of a game. But when it comes to previous God of War games, when people think of previous God of War games, they only think of one thing. It's about a character who's just raging a lot and wants to kill stuff. It's like, sometimes I'm like, did you actually play the previous games? Like, did you actually play the games without skipping the cutscenes, or just like, oh no, Kratos is just raging asshole. It's like saying Wolverine from the X-Men comics and animated series, like, hey, he's Wolverine, aka Logan. He's basically just an raging asshole. He only enjoys killing. He doesn't have any motivational characterization or whatever. Like, that's kind of stupid considering that in the very first game that came out in 2005, not that long ago, by the way, it actually tells a story about Kratos. He was betrayed by Ares. He wants to defend his people, Olympus. He wants to defend Olympus. And he was about to die. He called upon Ares, the god of war, to give him strength to defeat his enemies without breaking a sweat. Now he's like this most dangerous, powerful weapon of all times, but because of Ares, manipulation and betrayal, Kratos accidentally killed his family, and that emotionally destroyed him. His white marks, his white skin, basically reflect the fact that he will be haunted by the memory of him killing his family for a really long time, because Kratos was greedy with power, and that turned him into a monster. And he's like, fighting is the only thing that really resonates me. And later on in the series, even though when Kratos becomes a god of war, he's basically like, I don't know what to do with this power anymore. Like, he knows he's the god of war, but then later in God of War 2 he was betrayed by Zeus, then he's being betrayed by the gods, then in God of War 3 he's being basically betrayed by everyone. And he's like, you know what, enough with these lies, enough with the betrayals, enough with the backstabbing by people who I thought I could trust but now I can't. And that's why he goes on the killing spree. That's why he wants to kill the gods, because the gods are in God of War are dicks. They don't care about the people. They don't care about they don't care about stability. They just like, yeah, we're gonna be dicks because we are gods. We have the power, and even though Kratos is doing a good job, we're gonna betray him because we feel like he's way too dangerous. But think about this: if the gods didn't betray Kratos, then he wouldn't go on this killing spree. Some people say Kratos is heartless in the previous games, but that is not entirely true. Like, he, in the previous original games, in God of War 1 and 2, he still cares about his people. He still cares about Olympus. Because if he knows if he kills off, Olympus, goes on a killing spree, killing innocent people, like, his soldiers or something like that, and he will not be better than Ares, basically. And in God of War 3, when he meets up Athena, basically the Pandora or Athena, I don't know. Yeah, her name is Pandora. And when Pandora was about to sacrifice herself, Kratos is being haunted by the memory of his daughter. Basically, when she looks at Pandora, she reminds him of his daughter that he lost. And when Pandora was about to lose her life to open the Pandora's box so Kratos could defeat Zeus, Kratos is like,
in the darkness, the fires of hope will set us free.
Pandora, no!
You know why I'm here. You brought me here to do this.
I will find another way.
No, Kratos. There is no other way. Let me go!
No, child!
I am not a child! You're hurting me!
And that is really emotional, because Kratos has been going through a lot of things, like betrayal, losing his family, losing the people he cares about. Like, it is an emotionally investing character. But now when God of War PS4 comes out, like, now Kratos is emotionally invested because now he has a son. Basically tries to copy the same kind of trope of The Last of Us, because The Last of Us made a lot of money and wants to create like a cinematic experience. Now people think like, yeah, this is what gaming is all about, not the fun gameplay that the previous God of War games had. No, we need like 15 minutes of walking, unskippable cutscenes, and we need like more emotionally character invest. We need Kratos to be more emotional character, because fuck it, right? Like, I don't understand the hype behind the God of War PS4. Like, yeah, of course the graphics look really nice, but I'm one of those people who don't care about graphics, because even though God of War 3 had really amazing graphics, even for a game that came out like 9 years ago. Yeah, that game is that old. Even though the game came out 9 years ago, it still looks amazing. But at the same time, the original developers behind God of War 3, they still understood what God of War is about. It's about hack and slash gameplay. It's about Kratos completing his revenge. They wanted to complete the story of God of War, but God of War came out like they're just like, yeah, we're gonna change. We're gonna have different people working on the game, and then we're gonna change the formula. Basically, make it the last base. Basically, make it the similar game to The Last of Us. Now, of course, the gameplay elements of God of War PS4 and The Last of Us are completely different. Basically, The Last of Us is a third-person survival horror game, I think, and God of War PS4 is, I don't know how to call this. Some people might call it. I don't know if I can call God of War PS4 a hack and slash, because with hack and slash you can do many different combos. Basically, if you played the Devil May Cry games, you understand what hack and slash is really about. But God of War PS4, I can't really call it a hack and slash game, because some people always argue the fact that the only way the easiest way to defeat enemies in previous God of War games is just square, square, triangle, square, square, triangle. Yet in God of War PS4, I always see a lot of. I never played the game. Some people might argue, well, how can you argue about this game if you haven't played it yourself? But here's the thing with I don't own a PS4, and second of all, I'm not rich. But when I look at the God of War PS4 gameplay, basically a lot of gamers using the same attacks over and over again, and people always argue the fact that, hey, you know what, you're using the same attacks in God of War, previous God of War games, but that's what you do in God of War PS4. The only way that you can do actual cool combos or something like that, if you use like a super power up, like a cooldown type of deal, and if your cooldown runs out, then you just basically spam the same button over again to just, you know, defeat the game. Basically block and slash block slash. Like, this is like this is like kind of like a weak. Like, I feel like this is kind of like a really weak type of gameplay, like just like making Kratos weak for some reason because he's old. But even though Kratos is old, he defeats a freaking giant ass dragon that is like size of a freaking Empire State Building, and you're telling me he can't do cool combos to defeat enemies? And don't get me started on the enemy variety. Some people always argue about the previous God of War games that the enemies are always repetitive, but in God of War PS4, I always noticed this. I actually watched Kadikar's actual review of the game, and in God of War PS4, they actually do respawn the same mini bosses, not actual bosses, but mini bosses. They're basically reskins of the previous bosses, and basically you just fight them over and over and over again. Basically, you just go anywhere in the game and you basically see the same boss. Only difference that does for the PS4 God of War PS4 does with the bosses is when you fight, you know, the sons of Zeus, you know, the two sons of Zeus, and when you fight the final boss, I forgot the guy's name because he's kind of forgettable, and in the game, basically, they always say how much of a dick Odin is. Basically, he's like this evil entity. He's basically like this God of War PS4's version of Zeus. Basically, he's a god named cross-stabbing dickbag. He doesn't care about anyone else, basically, and he always and when they always one of the problems is that when you in the previous God of War games you go on a journey, they'll tell you Ares is an asshole, you need to defeat him, and you actually do defeat him. But then when you mention Thor or Odin, Thor actually does make an appearance in the ending of the game, but you don't actually fight him because it's basically a clickbait for the sequel. and I feel like they're gonna do a sequel for God of War PS4, but you don't just end a game like this, like you're hyping about, oh shit, oh Zeus has, no, not Zeus, but I mean Thor comes down to fight Kratos, and it's like, you know what, you killed my sons, no, I'm gonna be pissed and I'm gonna kill you off. Like, they're hyping it up, but you don't actually fight him in the end. Like, what the hell, guys? It's like, this is like when I'm pissed off when I watch a really amazing show that I like, animated show I really like Spectacular Spider-Man, or the original Teen Titans, etc. And then you're basically hyping up this like big reveal, like for example, Green Goblin's Norman Osborn, we have this new enemy in Teen Titans, Terra is back, blah blah blah. But then they just ended in a cliffhanger, and then boom, there's no sequel or whatever. Like, you don't just do that. If you want to end the story, then end the story in the right way. You don't just end it with a cliffhanger and thinking, we're gonna make a sequel because we are lazy like that. If you want to, like, look at the movie Logan. The movie ended, and there's not gonna be any more sequels for Hugh Jackman because Hugh Jackman is done with the character. He doesn't want to do the character anymore, and now that Disney now acquires 20th Century Fox, basically they're just gonna, hey, characters died. No, they didn't. We're gonna keep on spamming this shit, like, and a lot of people say Avengers Infinity War ending is really emotionally invested because a lot of characters die, but Endgame is coming, and already they're showing a trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, and they're like, yep, these characters not gonna die, they're gonna come back again. And with the X-Men, they're gonna pretty much do the same thing. They're gonna die, they're gonna come back from the dead, and we're just gonna keep milking these franchises without giving them proper endings, because Logan actually had a proper ending, and it is end of the X-Men movies. Now, of course, not the end of X-Men movies, but it basically is the end of Logan's character arc. It is basically end of not just Logan's character arc, but also Charles Xavier's character arc. It is basically done. Finito. Leave it alone. But with God of War PS4, it's like they just give us this hype up ending kind of deal, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna make a sequel because we didn't want to add Thor in the game. Like, there are different worlds. Basically, you're in this world where you go to Asgard, you go to Frostbite, basically the 9 realms of, if you watch Marvel's Thor or anything like that, they're basically talking about the 9 realms, and you basically, like, in the game, in God of War PS4, you're just, like, exploring, like, half of these realms, but others are just locked or not seen anymore. Like, why are you putting other 9 realms if you're not gonna explore them? Like, why do you even add that in the game? Because with God of War, I really like the fact that it doesn't make you choose. You're going on a journey. It's a game. You go from point A to point B, from point B to point C, and then from point C to point D, you meet a boss, the final boss, you defeat him, the game ends. It's not that hard, guys. And now but for some reason they add other 9 realms, and they're like, yeah, we're not gonna add any more because we're gonna put the other. But even though we don't have other realms, we're gonna just add them in the game anyways, because we just wanted to fuck with the gamers. Because gamers don't care about actual, looking at the flaws the game has. They only care about the story. We just like, what? Like, seriously, this is one of my problems I have with a lot of modern gaming community, is that, like, they're just blind. Like, a lot of people are just blind. Like, I'm not trying to be negative. Some people, if people enjoy God of War PS4, good for them. But I, for one, I'm one of those people like, yeah, God of War PS4 is a bit overhyped. Like, before the game even came out, for some reason it gets a 100, basically a 10 out of 10 scores for no reason, even though the game hasn't come out yet. Like, chill the fuck out, guys. And yeah, that's how I feel about God of War PS4. I feel like it's a bit overhyped of a game, and if you don't like negative criticism, then too bad for you, because imagine if Devil May Cry 5 now it's come out. Imagine if Devil May Cry 5 decided, hey, let's have Dante walk for 15 minutes without anything happening, because we need to establish this character more, making more emotionally invested. It will not work. Like, it will not work for a character like Dante, because Dante is basically a freeloader. He enjoys killing stuff. It's basically in his character. It's in his nature. You don't just change the character because you feel like, hey, we need more cinematic games. Like, if people enjoy these kind of games, good for them. But I, for one, want video games rather than just play a game that is basically an entire movie. Like, for example, Metal Gear Solid 4's biggest problem is the way too long cutscenes. Of course, you can skip them, but I feel like the cutscenes are way too long, and it's kind of takes out of you from the game's gameplay, basically. But I think that was kind of the point, because Metal Gear Solid 4 was more made for Metal Gear Solid fans rather than it was made for hardcore gamers who play Call of Duty games or whatever. And I understand that, because Metal Gear Solid has been a huge success from Konami, but after Kojima left, well, Metal Gear Solid games are just going downhill, unfortunately. And yeah, but that's how I feel, guys. Like, I know I will piss off a lot of people, but when I feel like God of War 4 on PS4 is kind of an overhyped game, so yeah. But yeah, that's my take on God of War PS4. If you agree with my points that I made in this video, because I tried to explain it as good as possible without sounding way too upset, because God of War PS4, if I played the game, I might think it is an okay game, but I will not call it perfect or a masterpiece like most modern day gamers do with cinematic games. Like, what the hell, guys? But yeah, this is my take on God of War PS4, and I feel like it is really an overhyped game. And this is Salmon17 signing off. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like if you want to, and share this video with others if you agree with my statement on God of War PS4. So yeah, I know I'm a little bit late on this, but I just want to say my thoughts on the game, on the God of War PS4 escapade or something. I don't know how to call it. But yeah, this is Salmon7 signing off, and I will see you guys later.